Because of scientific management, what FW Taylor have given us, we can get to know that optimum utilization of resources and development of each and every personnel to his or her greatest efficiency. So they have made their own work council and they'll go with their own decision making. District managerial is done by the manager and operative function is done by the workers. In the participation thing, you are supposed to be very transparent. Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. I'm Vidhyaashram from the Department of Commerce and Management in Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. Welcome to the fifth session of Evolution of Management. Now in this session, we're going to learn something more about the forms of participation. In the last session, we went with what exactly the participation, that is management by participation, is. Now we'll go with the forms of it. The first one is collective bargaining. Please understand this term, collective bargaining. The next one is works council, joint management council and committee. Then we have board representation, and the last one is workers ownership of enterprise. Now please understand the word collective bargaining, because everywhere it is used in business and in management, you are supposed to understand what exactly a collective bargaining is all about. Now here, participation, I'll give you a brief introduction of what management by participation is. Now you will actually make sure that the workers also participate in the management. This is called as management by participation. Now here they'll get a oneness of working in a harmony and not in discord, and they'll have something called cooperation and not individualism. Now if you understand the management by participation, you can also understand the scientific management is also involved here. Because of scientific management, what FW Taylor have given us, we can get to know that optimum utilization of resources and development of each and every personnel to his or her greatest efficiency. We can see this in the forms of participation also. So what exactly is a collective bargaining? A collective bargaining, here you need to understand that the results in collective agreements which lays down certain rules and conditions of service in an establishment. That means your collective bargaining results in collective agreement. So both the parties will have an agreement saying that what is that I'll be giving it, so that what is that your contribution is. Such agreements are normally binding on the parties. So there are two parties, that is the employer and the employees. Now, theoretically, collective bargaining is based on principles of balance of power, but in actual practice, each party tries to outbid the other and get maximum advantage by using, if necessary, threats and counter threats like strikes, lockouts, and other direct actions. Now, here what happens is the employee and the employer, please understand, employee and employer. Now both the ways, they are supposed to have a very good relationship and they will actually form a collective bargaining, saying that if the employees will do more work, the employer will give more salary, is what one of the collective bargaining is. One more is the employer need to satisfy their needs, only then they will work more efficient. That is also a collective bargaining. But here what happens is one or the other person will always go with they try to outbid the other and get maximum advantage. Sometimes the employer will take undue advantage of the employees, and when the employees will not work, then he will go with a lockout. Now what exactly a lockout is? Lockout is one of the act where the employer will close the production. Now sometimes what happens is the employee will demand more than what he is supposed to get, right? That is what the employee does. And if employer will not fulfill their needs and their comforts, then what happens is the employee will take his own actions, that we call it as strikes. That is, the employees will boycott working. And other direct actions, in the sense it can be boycotting, it can be gherao, it can be any kind of a thing. The other things which actually sometimes it's very bad. So both the parties need to understand they will only survive if both of them are in a very good shape. So the second one here we have is workers council. Now these are the exclusive bodies of employees assigned with different functions in the management of an enterprises. In West Germany, now I'll be giving you some example of other different countries, in other countries how this participation happens. In West Germany, the worker council have various decision making function. So they have made their own work council and they'll go with their own decision making. In some countries, their role is limited only to receiving information about the enterprises. Now, the work council cannot interfere more than receiving the information. In Yugoslavia, these council have wider decision making. That means in Yugoslavia, these work council will actually get more powers. Now, powers in an enterprise like appointment, promotion, salary fixation, and also major investment decisions. Now in Yugoslavia, and if you check the Germany, there is a lot of difference between work council in both the countries. Now in India also, let me tell you, the work council is such a way that they start fixing the appointments, the promotion, the salary, the same way what Yugoslavia goes with. Even in India, there are few work council who actually deals with these things the same way what they deal in Yugoslavia. But also please don't forget that in India, we also have few of the work councils which goes with the German kind of things. And what exactly the work council is, these are exclusive bodies, that is external bodies of employees assigned with different functions in the management of an enterprises. Next is joint management council and committees. Now they're the management council as well as the committees. Mainly these bodies are consultatively and advisory with decision making being left to the top management. Now the top management is that who will only go with decision making. The system of participation is prevalent in many countries including Britain and India. So they are prevalent in India and England. As they are consultative and advisory, neither the management nor the workers take them seriously. Now what happens is when you go with the third party, that is the consultation, now the employer as well as the employee will not take too much stress about these consultation. Next we have is board representation. The role of worker representative, in this role, what happens is the board of directors is essentially one of negotiation. Now they can go with more of negotiating the works, the workers' interests with the other members of the board. Now please understand the role of a worker representative in the board of directors is essentially one of the negotiating the workers' interests with other members of the board. At times, this may result in tension and friction inside the board room, that is board representation. If the workers will represent the board, what will happen? The effectiveness of workers' representation or representative to the board depends upon his ability to participate in decision making. Now he should be capable of decision making. His knowledge of the company affairs, his educational background, his level of understanding, and also the number of workers representative in the board. So what happens is he should actually be a person whom the workers have actually elected him unanimously, and then what happens is he should be a person who should be in the board, and only by being in a board it is not enough. He should have a well-defined education background, qualification, and to take decisions, and that were decisions which are proper. Workers' ownership of enterprises. Now here workers' ownership of enterprises, you need to know that social self-management in Yugoslavia is an example of complete control of management by workers through an elected board and workers' council. Now, if I give an example of Yugoslavia, what happens is they are disciplined themselves. So they will not go with any unethical practices. Even in such a system, there exist two distinct managerial and operative functions with different set of persons to perform them. So what happens is they have divided into two. One is distinct managerial and operative function. Now distinct managerial is done by the manager and operative function is done by the workers. Though workers have the option to influence all the decisions taken at the top level, in actual practice, the board and the top management team assume a fairly independent role in taking major policy decisions for the enterprises, especially in economic matters. Now here participation, what happens is the workers will be given a chance, but here you need to understand when it comes to economical matter, it is only the top management and the managers who will take the decision by themselves. Though you pretend that you people want everybody to participate, but the real thing here is the hidden agenda is you will start accepting all the innovative ideas, creative ideas, or the ideas for the betterment of the company. But when it comes to the real matter, the real issue, it is not the supervisor or the middle level who will take the decision. It is only the top level management who will go with the decision making. So here participation is, if you give more access to the workers, sometimes it is really bad, sometimes it will favor the company, but I'll tell you the majority of it, it always is the inverse of whatever it has been done. So please understand management by participation. For some extent you can actually go with management by participation, but for the overall of it, if like Yugoslavia being a country, what happens is now socially they will be responsible, but we don't know what can happen in the next. That is the reason they will be not given all the authority and all the responsibility to the workers alone to run the company. Next one is levels of participation. You need to know the levels of participation. Here what happens, the workers, the information participation, that is, it ensures that employees are able to receive information and express their views pertaining to the matter of general economic importance. So what is that information participation? You should give information, that is adequate information, or the information which are very necessary to the workers, so that the employees are able to receive information and express their views. In the participation thing, you are supposed to be very transparent is what they feel, but many of the places there will be not 100% transparent, but definitely there will be 80 to 85% they will have a transparency to the employees. Consultative participation, here workers are consulted on the matter of employees welfare, such as work, safety and health. So these three things are the basic one, that is you should actually give them, that is the work, safety and health. However, final decision always rests at the option of management, and employees view are only the advisory nature. So the workers can only go with advisory nature, but all the things are rest in the manager's hand. Then associative participation, now it is extension of consultative participation, has management here is under moral obligation. Now they have something called morality, that is a moral obligation to accept and implement the unanimous decision of employees. Now only when you go with associative participation, when there is a unanimous decision taken by all the workers, now it is not in the hands of the management. The management should take those decisions and they need to implement it even if there is a loss. That's the reason they go with associative participation. Now in associative participation, the idea is very simple. Whatever the decision is taken by the workers and they have the unanimous decision, then the management should adapt it and they have a moral obligation. Ethically, it is correct that unanimous decision is there, democratic thing is there, you are supposed to accept it. And the last one here is levels of participation. You have the two more, that is administrative participation and decisive participation. When it comes to administrative participation, it ensures greater share of works in discharge. So what it does, it ensures greater share of work in discharge. And here of the managerial function, here decisions already taken by the management come to employees. preferably with alternatives for administration, and employees have to select the best form of those from implementation. So here what happens is administrative participation means the greatest or the greater share of work in discharge of managerial function, the decisions already taken. Now the decisions already taken by the management comes to employees. Now we have the last one is the decisive participation, highest level of participation where decisions are jointly taken. Please understand, in the decision it is jointly taken on the matter related to production, welfare, etc. is called decisive participation. You may get a question, write a note on decisive participation or write a note on management by participation. Then you are supposed to write all the characters. So these are the things in the participation, but let me just tell you, whatever the management by participation is, in the very big companies you will not find management by participation. In a small company or a medium company you will actually see that management by participation will happen. But whatever the thing is, morally if the unanimous is there, morally the obligation is under the management and they are supposed to follow it. That's the reason they will not give more opportunity to the people for management purposes. Thank you so much. I'll see you when I see you.